Hey YouTube, it's a little follow-up on yesterday's video talking about the situation with Glock, with the letter they sent to Oklahoma, expressing, well, kind of their position, their support for certain gun control measures. That's what the letter said. Now, the discussion about it is kind of interesting. There's a lot of comments that generated both on YouTube and on Instagram. And I have to tell you, they're all over the place. It's really, really interesting to me to see all that stuff. I think if I had to kind of summarize it, I think the arguments between the pragmatists and the ideologues, those who look at the world and kind of take a practical approach, where you're like, let's look at what's going on and how things, the state of play in the world right now, versus people who have a really, really strong ideological or dogmatic position and they're not willing to bend it. That's that's kind of what I view the argument as being. Now, there's some kind of examples or some parallel issues that we could talk about. Like, for example, like firearms owner ID cards. Now, a lot of the guys in the comments, I mean, and I've seen this stuff over the years and I've heard these sort of views expressed. They'll talk about firearms owner ID cards. If you live in a state that has those, like, oh, I have to go get a license just to possess a gun, which, I mean, where I live, that's not a thing, to be honest. Like, there's not a license for a gun. Like, you can have a gun, you don't need a license for that. Um, Shit, in Arizona, you don't need a license to carry, it's constitutional carry. In Wisconsin, you need a license to carry. All right. Um, as far as buying a gun, like, that's not a question. Like, as long as you're not prohibited by law through some sort of thing like being a felon, you can buy a gun, and that's not a problem. There's not a licensing thing. And I've seen a lot of guys will kind of poo-poo those states, or really poo-poo the people that live in them, where they're like, oh, you do that. Well, I live in a free state, and I would never kind of submit myself to getting a FOID card or getting a firearms license. That's like you're a pussy or something. And I've seen those sorts of comments. And for me, like, I guess I could say that. That'd be easy to say, but realistically speaking, well, if I lived in Illinois and I wanted to have a gun, I'm gonna submit to the FOID system. Or like if I live in California, for example, well, I'm subjected to the list, or I have to try to go through some sort of exemption to get an off-roster gun that I can possess it that way. And then even then, it's going to be licensed to me. And that's kind of how in my head, I'm framing a lot of the discussion around what Glock is doing, or about people's opinions with the Glock thing. It's a really interesting thing to me. What I would say, like, from where I sit, here's a good example. I've traveled to, like, I don't know, dozens of countries with firearms. Dozens. I've done this a lot of times. Do I get a license when I go to these countries? Absolutely. Well, I don't really have a choice. Like, I'm going to go through customs. They're going to know I have a gun. Um, a lot of times, the paperwork for the firearm will be checked before a commercial airliner will even let me board. Okay. Am I going to have a license and stuff? Well, yeah. Now, some of that process is really funny. Here's a funny thing for you. Of all the countries I've been to, what one question I'll get, always get this question, always. Never not seen this question in any country I've been to. It'll say, what is your firearms license number? That's what they want to know. Well, I don't have a firearms license. A concealed carry permit doesn't count. That's not a license to possess a firearm. That's a license for a different thing. Well, the license number that I have always, like every single time, I've always written down 2A, and it's always worked. Every single time I'm granted a temporary license in the country I'm going to, just writing down 2A. I mean, there's other stuff as well. You go to customs before you go to a different country with a firearm. At least this is smart to do if you don't do it. You get a form, I think it's 4473. It's not a license. What it is, it's you're showing the thing to customs, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be for a gun, but you show them like, yep, I own this thing. And then what it is when you come back to the US, you're proving like, well, I'm not importing it. I own this shit when I left. I'm not importing this gun. That's what the form is for. But again, every country I've ever been to, if I show, like, that's the license. If I show them that thing, it's like, well, that's my license. That's how they view it. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, but that's the way it is. Anyway, I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent here. The point is, I think there are people that don't move about the world with guns, that it's easy to have a real strong opinion about, what's wrong with everybody else, or it's easy to cling to your, like, hey, if I'm not allowed to have a switch on my Glock, that's an infringement. And you're like, okay, I mean, like, it's not like I don't really disagree. Like, yeah, I would like for you to be able to have a switch. Like that sounds better to me. That's like, that sounds good. But I mean, how mad am I really going to get? I mean, realistically speaking, we have it pretty good. We're in this country, by and large, in most places. If you want to get a gun, you can get a gun. There's like some legal bullshit that nobody really likes sometimes that you have to jump through to get a gun. But basically, you can get a gun. And apart from like full autos and, that type of shit, which, I mean, who the hell who really uses full auto anyway? Like, not that many people really want that for anything aside from like fun and amusement, which to me, that's reason enough, by the way. It's reason enough to get it. But it's like, I mean, again, realistically, from a pragmatic perspective, I think we have it pretty good here. So that kind of brings it back around to me through like the lens I view the Glock scenario. Now, as I see it, Glock builds guns, as many as they can, and they sell as many as they can to basically anybody who wants one, like legally if they're allowed to buy it. This switch deal is kind of a bad deal for Glock because they're not trying to sell that stuff. They don't want their shit to be like made into an illegal thing where, now it's like a law enforcement issue. But, that is what has happened. If you talk to cops pretty much all over the place, they'll tell you like, well, like there's a lot of, gangbangers and like felons and that type of thing that for whatever reason, they have Glocks with switches. That's just really common. So it doesn't shock me that this is a big issue for Glock, and they're trying to like navigate these waters. Anyway, that's how I see it. Now let's go through your comments because, like I said, they're all over the place. All over the place. All right. The top comment, at least as far as how YouTube sorts it, please don't sue us over stuff we don't even make. Thanks. And it's like, that's pretty fair. I mean, a lot of likes on that one, and kind of like, yeah, I think that's pretty much Glock's angle on this thing. Let's go to the next one. Glock wouldn't sell a Glock brand Glock switch, even if machine guns were legal. They'd make you buy a whole new slide. I think so. All right. Stop doing illegal shit to our guns. Thanks. There, summarized for you. And now, if I read down through, this guy got some replies. The first reply, we love what you're doing with your anti-2A laws, said no patriot ever. Even if it shouldn't be illegal, it is. All right. Glock's getting sued out of existence. I don't know what the fuck else they're supposed to do. It's kind of, yeah, I mean, from a pragmatic point of view, it's like the switch thing is an issue for Glock. Their guns are relatively modular. So you can just kind of plug in different shit and like make the gun do stuff that they don't, they didn't sell it that way. All right. What do you guys expect from an Austrian company? LOL. Europe has a completely different gun culture. All right. Why not cheer on all the bad laws? I'm sorry, but the type of people that have switches shouldn't. And how is it illegal exactly? Shall not be infringed. That's all in caps. Pretty much protects all of this no matter what. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. But the reality is, if you have a switch and the cops find it, you're going to get in trouble. They're going to send you to the pokey, I reckon. It's going to be bad. And what are you going to go into court and be like, no, I have this right to do this thing, and this is an infringement? It's like, it's just, again, from the pragmatic perspective, that's not going to really play. I mean, even if you think it should, even if you could be right as rain, doesn't matter. All right. Last year, the city of Chicago tried launching a frivolous lawsuit against Glock for their design being too easy to convert into a machine gun. Glock's team of lawyers probably constructed the statement as a CYA against future lawsuits. And that's what we're hearing. I mean, that seems to be the most sort of, you know, reasonable theory as to where Glock is at on this. And that's a kind of a tough lawsuit because for other things, like, well, how tough would it be to convert them? I mean, other systems, like other stuff, I'm not sure it'd be that hard. Like, what do you mean too easy? It's too easy to do it. Well, in the age of modularity, 3D printers, and buying stuff from China, it's like, I imagine you could convert a lot of things if you really wanted to. Not that it'd be a good idea. All right, they're tired of the future scholars that can't help but post their Glock switches on TikTok. Yeah, I'm not on TikTok, but I've heard it is a thing that people like to post them on TikTok. Glock, it switches today. It's not too bad, a little play on things there. The switches have been made in China for years. Same with the Fent. Yeah, it's like I'm not up on where switches come from. Like, I'll take your word for it, I guess. There's all they're saying is that they don't want to be a part of any illegal mods, and they do say illegal. Yeah, I mean, I guess. And that's not like a crazy point of view. Again, I understand the ideology where it's like, no, it shall not be infringed, and it's in the Declaration of Independence that these rights come from God, and we can do these things. And then it's protected by the Constitution, and anything's an infringement. It's kind of like, yeah, I got it. Well, I live in the real world though, where if I have a switch, that's a major problem for law enforcement. Like they would take that seriously, and it would be a problem. And how about this? What if somebody shows up at your gun club with that, and they're practicing? I mean, well, let's be honest. The people that have switches are not going to gun clubs practicing. I don't think. But what if that, how do you handle that? Like, would you be like, no, it's an infringement if we like don't want him practicing with that here. Like, we don't want it to be an issue for the club. Like, how do you handle it? I mean, again, the ideology is one thing, the belief system versus, the real world where that could be a problem for your club. And I would understand people not wanting people doing that at your gun club. It's like training with a switch. Like I understand that. Now, to be honest, I'm one of those people that would kind of look the other way. Like, I'm just like, whatever. I don't want anything to do with this. Or if like, whatever the guy in the next bay, like, he got a switched out Glock, I would probably just look the other way. But if the range FUD starts getting nosy and asking questions or getting really mad, it'd be like, well, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. All right, this is 100% Glock doing CYA. It's like, well, yeah, that's what it looks like. Glock is Austrian for gay. Man. Ruger does it, gets mudded. Springfield does it, gets mudded. Daniel Defense does it, gets mudded. Glock does it, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. I don't know. I don't know the exact details of all those things or remember all that stuff, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a super fair comparison. Like, what was it for Ruger, for example? What did people get mad at Ruger for saying, like, no honest man needs more than 10 rounds? I mean, I could look at it sort of strictly speaking. It's like, well, yeah, I don't need more than 10, but that's not really what it's about, is it? Like, I want more than 10. And it's like, my gun holds more than 10. So like, what are we talking about here? Like, I don't want you to dial me down, Ruger. There you go. We need to get Ben to 100,000 subs. So close, man. Thanks for all the training videos. You're welcome. And, I appreciate that. That's very nice. The 100,000 subs thing will happen. But don't get it twisted, man. Like, I'm not, like, YouTube doesn't want me to have more followers. Instagram doesn't want me to have more followers. The people that run the sorts of companies that facilitate social media, they don't really like me. And I'm for sure they've been suppressing the YouTube channel lately. Hell, I got kicked off of Instagram for a couple days a few weeks ago. Um, YouTube channel, I posted, what did I post? Oh, I posted a short of the trigger tech trigger from Joel's class where the guy banged on the bottom of the magazine and the fucking gun goes off. And it was like, that's a pretty interesting video. It's pretty saucy. And I had a really clickbaity title. It was beautiful. I posted it as an Instagram short. It got a lot of views. I mean, it got a lot of traction. It's the most viewed video in terms of view count that I've ever put up. All right, there you go. Yeah, 1.6 million views. And the chart is hysterical. Now, let's see if you can see this. I know I'm showing you on my phone like a freaking boomer, but here's the chart. Lots of views going up and then flat line. Well, that's not organic. Like YouTube is like, no, we're not showing that video anymore for whatever reason. You know, I've heard a lot of people getting unsubscribed from the channel. They're like, oh, I've seen those comments lately and heard from people where they're like, yeah, I mean, YouTube unsubscribed me from your channel. And it's like, well, yeah. Again, I can sit here and be howling at the moon like, you fucking tech guys. But realistically speaking, yeah, I understand they don't like people like me on YouTube. It's like, of course they're going to try to cornhole my channel. Like, why not? Of course they're doing that. Can't get mad when other people play the game. You know what I mean? All right. The Glock switches are already illegal, though. Yeah, they are. The ATF already holds them to compliance, being a manufacturer. Yeah, it's true. It's already illegal, and they're already in compliance. So I don't know if they act like they're big fans of it. Maybe that I don't curries them some favor or some shit. Like, I don't know. It's kind of moot, right? It doesn't really affect anything. Glock goes anti-gun in quotation marks. Yeah, I'm not seeing that based on their letter. Okay. Glock goes anti-civil liability and for shit that their product owners do also works. Yeah, it does. That's not as good of a title, though. Come on, it is the internet. We gotta clickbait you a little bit, dude. You know? And then in the comment, we applaud and support your anti-2A laws and activities. Sounds like real patriots at Glock. It's like, yeah, I get it. The people, the hardliners don't like this stuff. I mean, I don't really like it. I mean, the letter could have been worded better for sure. But again, being pragmatic, it doesn't change anything. All right, dude, California is currently trying to ban all guns that can accept a switch. They are specifically targeting Glock in the bill's language, and if passed, it will make buying a Glock illegal in the state. Haven't heard a word from them on that. Okay, well, again, being real, they want to ban the fuck out of everything in California anyway. I would say the switch thing is an excuse, wouldn't you? Let's be honest with each other. Is the switch thing a real issue? It's already illegal. Like, do you know any dudes that have a switch or like using a switch? Probably not. Like, I don't know anybody with a switch. I don't. I've shot proper Glock 18s, but I've never seen a switch. It's like, I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not like arresting people with switch. I've never seen one. Like, it's got nothing to do with what I'm doing. So is that it's like not a real issue. Like, as far as law-abiding use of guns, already it's a non-issue. So it'd be just a justification for them to do what they want to do anyway, which is ban everything, right? Wouldn't you say? All right. I love how their immediate reaction is to blame the illegally modified gun and not the young scholars illegally modifying the gun. Yeah, I mean, look, jeez, you guys are savages, by the way. A lot of very, very savage comments. But yeah, it's like, again, it's not, I don't expect people to be rational about this when somebody wants to like ban stuff or make shit illegal. It's like, why do you think it's going to be fair or be rational or make sense? It doesn't have to. All right, next question. What the hell is the point of legislation against crap that's already illegal? Well, okay, that's a good question. One might argue that that's the best kind of legislation. It's the best. If you're a politician, you can yep, we're going to do this thing to make a show. You talk to the big players behind the scenes, like over here and over here, like, Yeah, it's all bullshit, guys. Like we're gonna, we're making a show for the people. We're gonna have some talking points to get some media coverage the way we want it, and we're not actually changing shit. I mean, in a sense, it's maybe the best kind of legislation from a certain perspective. If you want to, score PR points but not do anything, why not? I understand. I wasn't aware Glock was ever perceived as being pro-gun. Well, I mean, they are implicitly pro-gun, aren't they? I mean, they manufacture and sell guns. That is their business. Like, how the fuck are they not pro-gun? They sell guns to pretty much any motherfucker that can legally buy one, right? It's, that's pretty much the most pro-gun thing you can do, I would think. All right. They're supporting additional laws in their statement, even if it's already illegal. We need less 2A restrictions, not more. Not a giant deal, but I'm still disappointed in Glock. Okay. I mean, this is how people are going to see it. And again, like looking at it rationally, if you are outside of a state, like, I don't know, Arizona is a really good example. Like, you can basically do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, the big push for concealed carry, in the noughties, I think was most of it. I was kind of thinking at that time, over that decade, on balance, people got way less restrictions as a country. The assault weapons ban expired, that sunsetted, that went away. You could buy way more shit, and then the kind of the concealed carry thing swept the country. And I would say, I mean, again, from where I sit, I don't think there's a lot of anti-gun people in the country, which I know that's going to sound crazy. Well, let me explain. I know a lot of pro-gun people. Obviously, being a shooter and having a lot of guns and knowing gun people, there are people that they're passionately like anti-restrictions. They want to have all the guns and all this stuff. There's not that many people that are really passionately anti-gun where that's their whole, like, that's their single issue that they really care about. Now, there are people that would, don't get me wrong, there are people that'll cast a ballot right now to take away all your shit. I know a lot of them. But there's a whole host of other views that those people generally have. And it's not like, I mean, it's just, they would just like, they're going to line up on all those things and be like, boom, I think this, this, and this, and this. And like one of those things is like, boom, yeah, less guns, get guns off the street, make them more legal, and all that shit. But it's just one of a bunch of issues that they just feel a certain way about or they have a certain view on. But I don't think like they care that much about that one particular thing, irrespective of what they say. They're not showing up and doing, big marches anymore or shit like that. It's just, it's kind of like, I think in a sense, people understand like kind of the horses out of the barn on that one. All right. All 4 PDP owners are jumping for joy. Okay, maybe. Glock's letter is fine up to the last 2 paragraphs, literally endorses new state laws. This makes removing the NFA more complicated, which we will likely experience in the near future with silencers. I don't know. Like, the NFA going away would be really interesting, but I don't know how likely that is. I mean, we've heard a lot of promises about that, I'll believe it when I see it, muchacho. All right, interesting. This could be a slippery slope if politicians start writing laws making it illegal to modify firearms. Now, that is an interesting point. It would be terrible for gunsmiths and would certainly impact the world of competitive shooting. I'll go further. Like, as far as handguns, like, everybody modifies their shit. Everybody's doing that. All right, the laws would also destroy the abundant aftermarket support Glock currently enjoys. I like Glock, but they should remain silent and focus on fighting to have lawsuits dismissed as they arise. All right. And the reply to that, politicians are already doing it. They've tried many times. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting issue to talk about. And again, I see it through the lens of being really pragmatic or being an ideologue and just being like, no, it's got to be this way. And anybody's not 100% or well, not even talking about people, but anything that's there's not 100% the way that I believe it should be, then I'm going to turn on them. Yeah, that to me, like I've been too many places and done too much shit. Like I couldn't function in the world if I thought that way. But, that's just me. Anyway, I'll keep looking at it. It's fun to talk about. It's interesting to watch.